Marco,
Sean, where are you?
I'm on my way.
You're on your way? Are
Hold,
you
hold your breath.
are you closer to the
I
destination or still closer to where you started?
I'm in. I guess I'm a little. Yeah, I'm definitely closer.
You're definitely close.
Definitely closer.
You're
I'm trying to
definitely
think of the
closer.
triangle. I'm in a triangle of direction here, but definitely closer. I could drive from where I
You
am.
could drive.
I could drive
You know what?
or take a train.
I never took the car to London.
Yeah,
So that would be interesting.
yeah,
I know you did from Dublin, I guess. Did you ever
that's
drove from the
possible from Dublin. Exactly,
Yeah,
with the ferry
there you
uh,
go. There you go.
or
Well,
train under the
we're
channel.
talking about geography here, and I think there is a
Exactly.
reason. Obviously, this is an on location episode with Sean Martin, which is you, and Marco Cepelli, which is me, and we are all about our next on location coverage, which is Infosecurity Europe in London, which is one of our favorite show of the year, a tradition since 2017, I think, something like that. That was the first one.
I know it's been a few years.
Yeah, very
We've
good.
met a lot of friends there.
And we're making new one.
We are. A new friend, Saima. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. Good to meet you too.
Love what you do with the conference, and it's always a well-oiled machine. I'm sure in the background people are pulling their hair out, but always from an attendee perspective and a media perspective, it's always been great, and we enjoy working with the team to pull the conversations together and pull the stories out of what's going on in England and in Europe and beyond. And we're thrilled to do it again this year.
Fantastic. We look forward to seeing you there. Definitely. It's just 2 short weeks away now. So yeah,
Right
lots
around the
of work
corner.
going on in the background.
Well, how about we start from the beginning, which is you? This is the first time that we actually talked to you in all these years, but I know you've been around in the organization for a while as portfolio director. So a few words about you, and I know there is a celebration as well this year. So let's start with that as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. So yeah, my name's Saima and I'm the portfolio director for our technology shows at RX Global. And I've had the pleasure of working with the Infosecurity team for over 5 years now, 5.5 years. And through that time, we've gone through the pandemic and come out of the pandemic, changed venues, and this year we absolutely have a great celebration in front of us. So it's our 30-year anniversary this year. We were due to celebrate our 25th anniversary, but it was actually COVID back then, so we never got to have that celebration. So I'd like to think that we're making up for it this year.
Well, we're certainly excited to be part of that
I,
celebration.
I like a I like a good party.
Yeah,
Yes, and there will be one.
yeah.
We'll get to
So
Nice
that.
one.
So why don't we start with looking a little bit back, and then you tell us what the party, what the highlights for this year is and are. I'm sure there's more than one thing. So 30 years. That's technology time. It's a long time.
It's
Yeah.
3 decades. In
Yeah.
fact.
Huge amount of change in that time. Huge amount of change. And yeah, so our first event was in 1996. So, and I think for the last 30 years we've been one of the most crucial events in the calendar for those 30 years. But in that time, the tech landscape and the cybersecurity landscape has continued to change and evolve and become more and more complex. So, from the early 90s, the emergence of the internet, digital transformation of the 2000s, the rise of the cloud. More recently, we've had the emergence of Gen AI and quantum computing now. And I think, looking back over these 3 decades, if I look back myself, we must have had thousands of visitors, come through our door. We definitely have had thousands of visitors. They've connected with, hundreds and thousands of suppliers, attended countless seminars and sessions, and formed probably tens of thousands of new contacts. And we'd like to think that these interactions at Infosec have helped these cybersecurity professionals really strengthen those security measures in their organizations, their people, their data, their assets over that time to help keep them safe. And, we're really proud to be part of that community for the last 30 years. We certainly couldn't have done it with the support from, our partners like yourselves, our advisory board who play a big role in our conference program every day, all of our partners and indeed all of the vendors and all of the visitors that have walked through the doors over the last 30 years. So we will be having a little bit of a celebration for that whole community this year.
Yeah, let's talk about the community a little more. Maybe you can speak to who attends, maybe some of the changes there in terms of role, what they're looking for, how the interactions go from a communication perspective. Because I think if we look back, 30 years, cyber wasn't even really a thing, right? It was IT people that did cyber.
Yeah.
And that had its own way, or it introduced its own way of getting people together and talking about things. So can you maybe share a little bit about who attends and how all those conversations amongst the community have changed?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have we're expecting around 14,000 visitors this year, predominantly from the UK, but we do have a fairly large contingent from Europe as well, and that's on the visitor side. And all of our visitors are cybersecurity professionals, but what they actually do on a day-to-day basis can range. They can either be specialists in a certain area, or they can be someone more senior in the organization who's looking after cybersecurity strategy. On the whole, though, what they are looking for is innovation, insights, and networking, kind of those three buckets. So innovation, that's around kind of either the existing or the new. Innovation doesn't necessarily always come from new, because maybe it's you haven't found that certain innovation yet, but it might exist out there. So whatever the current problem that they're trying to solve in their organization, what's the technology or the service that's going to help them to solve that, and how can they implement it? So we have people coming to look at technologies all the way from very early on in that buying cycle, if you like, sort of looking for inspiration, or at the very early days of thinking that this might be a problem, all the way through to, they might have selected 2 or 3 vendors and they're coming to Infosec to talk to the teams in more detail. They're bringing their tech teams with them to sort of look at those products in more detail. So that's, and often what we hear from our visitors, they do want to see, even though the existing technologies, those kind of larger companies are important, they also they want to see what's new, what are those new companies. And so that's where our discovery zone comes into play, and our startup zone, where some of those new and exciting startups can be found. So that's the innovation side of things. Then the insights, we've got a conference program. We have 8 theatres and a range of sort of formats. So you have high-level keynotes, presentations, and then we have workshop-style smaller sessions, which are very interactive. And that, again, can be learning about technology. So we have some tech-focused sessions, but it can be around kind of learning case studies. So what's worked, what hasn't worked, what are the pitfalls, which is another really interesting areas that our visitors like to hear about. And you also get to learn from each other in those sessions. That a lot of our visitors come to learn from their peers around kind of what, how are they trying to solve this problem, or what's worked in the past there. So that's that insight piece. And then the networking, again, whether it's in our leaders lounge or on the show floor, we've got some new areas for networking today, or whether it's some of the events around the events, everybody really comes to kind of, strengthen those existing relationships or build new ones within the community, whether that's within their peer group or whether that's with vendors or partners. We really see it as a place to kind of forge those relationships that last, years and years, and people say that's what they come back year and year after as well to do, and everyone's going to be there. So that's what, and just to answer your other question about who attends, I think we really see this as an event for the whole cybersecurity team, and indeed anyone else working in an organization who touches on cybersecurity, be that tech and seniority. We get fairly early career people looking at starting out in their cybersecurity careers, all the way through to people who've been in the industry for the last 30 years. And really, I think there's something for everyone within that span of experience level.
Yeah, and I know we've connected with some folks. We see a lot of engagement from the education space, the university and researchers. and we've seen an uptick in policy folks as well
Yes.
in different areas. So I presume you see some of that change too.
Yes. We're focusing more on policy this year. We actually have the UK government coming to do some sessions where they want to hear from the cybersecurity community about how getting help from them to input into the next kind of phase of regulation, and then certainly we do engage with universities and students. We're actually creating a guide for students this year to kind of help them get more out of the event. Sometimes they come and they don't really know what's there for them, so we're creating that, and we're encouraging them to come on the afternoon of day 2 as well, just so we can kind of put our hands around them a little bit more and help them around the show as well.
That's very exciting, and I'm gonna move into a couple of things that excite me, but I look at things more from a societal perspective, and I'm also a kind of a geek when it comes to space. So you know where I'm going with this. So you got Brian Cox, which is one of my favorite, like honestly, presenters and physicists. His personality, always been a big fan. Unfortunately, I know he doesn't give interviews, so I tried. We'll see what happens. So we're talking about having a safer cyber world as far as the theme of the event goes. I think we're going with the universe here. That's a joke I prepared a while back. But anyway, exciting to know that there is somebody like him on stage, but also very excited from my perspective, Rory Stewart.
Yes.
I look at the geopolitics and how cybersecurity affect not only our society as individual societies, but as a whole. So the vision on the global aspect, the universe, we'll see where that goes. And Rory presenting for this, it's very, very exciting to me, which come to show me that we've gone a long way from IT people talking about IT versus this is a global, everyday, for everyone problem to resolve. So your take on that, and what does excite you when it comes to?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I think this isn't just an IT problem. I think everyone can relate to cybersecurity in some way. The threats are getting closer and closer to home, and certainly here in the UK we've had some big retail names kind of be attacked recently, whereas some of the other attacks can be quite niche potentially, certain sectors, but everyone knows these names, so it's certainly front of mind. But yes, I am very excited about those 2 keynotes that you mentioned as well. So obviously Brian Cox. So the thinking there was obviously around. And I think I'm going to ask the team to change our tagline, actually, building a safer cyber universe. So thanks for that. So yeah, quantum computing, I think, I think for a long time, this has felt like more or less a remote prospect for many of us. But, recently, there's been developments in the technology that have actually shown that these powerful quantum computers are actually on the near-term horizon, I think, potentially within the next 5 years. So the risk here is, of course, that these will be able to break, any existing encryption protocols that cannot be cracked with the existing tech. So this level of risk, I think, along with the rapid rate of the technology development in this area, means that, cybersecurity professionals really need to understand, what they should be doing in this area. So the conference, actually, I think this year we're going to kick off with this topic. So we have the world-renowned physicist, Professor Brian Cox. So he's going to talk about the science, so giving that universe perspective, so how the incredible science of black holes and quantum mechanics might hold the answers to the futures of cybersecurity and computing, and so I'm fascinated to hear what he's going to say. And I think so I think that is definitely going to be a popular session. I think what then the cybersecurity professionals, what our visitors will want to know is, okay, well, what should I be doing about it? So we're actually going to be following that session on with a session moderated by the BBC's cybersecurity correspondent Joe Tidy. So he's going to set out sort of why that the threat is really relevant today, and what are the actions that different types of organizations and industry should be taking right now in preparation. So kind of teaming up that sort of the theory and that sort of high level universal view with then actually kind of practically what should we be doing on a day-to-day basis now. And I think that's quite a good sort of analogy of our conference program in the whole. It's kind of giving you the overarching what are the key things you need to be concerned about, and then actually how do you implement them and what do you do today. And certainly, the geopolitical angle, I think it's something that's one of the biggest drivers of risk probably now, and certainly seems to be evolving at unprecedented rates at the moment, certainly. So who better to talk about that than Rory Stewart. So he is going to be deep diving into kind of what's going on at the moment with these global power dynamics and where might this all be heading. And he's going to be looking at things like alliances and how shifting alliances might change risk. He's going to be looking at where from around the globe might new threats emerge. He's going to be looking at how a global trade war could affect cybersecurity. So really, really kind of topical and fascinating stuff that, I'm sure is going to be interesting to a lot of our audience.
I'm sure supply chain will be sprinkled throughout there as well.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes.
Can't get away from that. And I know building materials and software building materials more specifically have been hot topics. I suspect that'll be in there too. As I look at the conference program and some of the tracks, of course there are topics from AppSec to CloudSec to DevSecOps and IAM and incident response management and things like that. But there are also tracks like case studies and research and demos and workshops. Can you kind of give a sense to folks how, I don't know if there are certain ways that you find people navigate the tracks and the topics? Do they pick a technology and bring a collection of research and workshops together, or do people dig into workshops, or how does that look? If you have
it's a great question. I think one that I'll do my best to answer, but the you've absolutely hit the nail on the head. So most of our theatres and our tracks are divided into what I would call kind of format type. So case study, will be giving, an example of an implementation in an organization, what's worked, what hasn't worked. Tech demo will be giving a tech, more of the tech side of things, how to implement, a demo. A deep dive will be going very deep on a topic. So that's the kind of format of the top, but actually the actual topic itself will be intertwined into all of those different formats. So when people are coming to the show, sometimes they can be looking, for example, for, ransomware. Okay, I need to know about ransomware. Where can I find that? And that's when our app and our website comes into play with all the different filters down the side. So if you are looking for a particular topic, you can then see, well, what theatres are those in and what times. This year, though, however, for the first time, we are introducing one topic-based theatre as well, which is our AI and cloud security theatre. And that was off the back of feedback from last year where, AI was, we haven't mentioned it yet, or I think I mentioned it once, but, was tip of everyone's tongue. And there was AI dotted all around the conference. And we got feedback that, it was a little bit tricky to navigate. So this year we've said, okay, we'll put AI and cloud content in one place. If you want to know, about that, if you're particularly interested on that, which many people are, here's the theatre for you. That doesn't mean that AI doesn't appear in other theatres and in other sessions, but we've created that as a bit of a test case, and it's likely that we'll start to roll out more of these kind of topic-based theatres or tracks in the future.
Yeah, you got 250 speakers, I believe. So that's
Yes.
That's a lot. And I kind of, as we start closing here, and of course we are excited to dive deep into all of this in person there. Let's talk a little bit about the community, and definitely it could feel a little overwhelming the first time that you get there, especially you arrive at Excel. It's pretty big. There is a lot going on there. It's a beautiful location, but some advice maybe for the first timers or the people that as you say, there is definitely the app that help, but at a human level, how have you guys organized the networking point? I mean, I kind of know what to expect. It's not the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have many first-time visitors, and I have certainly been there in that overwhelming space where you walk into an event and you have no idea what to do next. So I think the first thing I would highlight is preparation. So there is a lot on at Infosecurity Europe. We have hundreds of sessions and over 300 exhibitors to go and see, and many different technologies covered. So I would say think about the top 1 to 3 challenges that you're facing at the moment, and then prepare. So look at the website, look at the app, prepare which vendors you want to speak to, which sessions to go to, and really kind of set up that calendar. And we've got various tools on our website to help you do that. We're introducing some new formats this year. So we've got something like 60 mini events within events, things like table talks, which are smaller peer group discussions that you can book onto, so it's even more important this year to kind of see what's available and pre-book onto some of these sessions. I think using some of the technology available that we have, I think is really important. So I've mentioned one of those already, which is our Infosec Meets platform. So there you can book meetings with vendors and other visitors, and you can also book onto some of these smaller table talks as well. The other thing that I would definitely say is share that you're going. So quite often when we see people, on their social media say that, I'm going, who else is going, that network suddenly opens up, and you can actually open up some of those networking opportunities that, maybe people, don't know who's going or don't want to meet up. I think definitely sharing the fact that you're going and asking who else is going on your network as well. And then I think, preparation is one thing, but follow-up is also another thing. So it's all very well preparing, coming, but actually, following up on either the vendors that you visited or the sessions that you went to is really important. And that's one thing that we've heard from our visitors, can be a bit of a struggle. They get so much information, and then what do they do with it? So for the first time this year, we're going to be giving our visitors the ability to download the session slides after the session has run, and later on in the day, if they miss a session, they can go back and download the slides. And that's really important because you've got those then to hand, in the next days and weeks. And if you've got colleagues that you want to share those with, or you want to follow up with, maybe the vendor that was speaking, you've got that information to hand instead of maybe having to click, take photos or go back through your photo album. So we're doing that for the first time this year. We tested it a little bit last year, and it worked really well, but we're doing that on all of our theatres this year as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I think we need to remind everybody that this is actually happening the 3rd to the 5th of June at the Excel. We said that a few times, which is again not too bad to get there with the train. So if people stay around the area, then they are already there. That's easy.
I might swim the Thames. I don't know.
You may have to swim, but there is.
Yeah, there are. If we are usually blessed with good weather. I'm going to jinx it now, but yeah, you get some glorious views of the Thames as well.
The last 2 years were even a little too hot. I think the year before, which is kind of weird to say that about London, but I'm still. We still have planned, as I was saying to you before we started recording. Sean and I would do something different. Compare with other events that we cover in London. We have our sightseeing and filming in the evenings or the day before and after in some very, very memorable and well-known places around the town. So I'm very looking forward to that. And like you said, let's make it happen earlier by starting to talk about that on social media. Of course, we will be there. We will be doing interview. We will be going around the booth. We will participate with the community. Always happy to get some selfies and a hug and to see people that we never met before, but also to make new friends. So I want to invite everybody to follow us.
I like to eat. I like to party.
Oh, and the eating, yes, of course.
yes, the party. So we will be having our party, our 30th anniversary party on the Tuesday. So let us know if you want to come when you register. There's a box on there to let us know if you want to come to register. It is 90s themed, so we link there. So there will be some fun 90s themed entertainment, and we're also celebrating our 30th anniversary in a number of different ways as well. We've actually got some of our Hall of Fame alumni coming back to help us chair the keynote, which is really excited.
Very good.
Really exciting.
Well, it is exciting,
Super
and we cannot wait to be there and get the party and the coverage started. So if everybody listening that wants to share their stories, vendors, and get in touch with us, we're open to get a few conversation going. And of course, all the people that we already know they're going to be there, academics, and we will have some nice conversation. So stay tuned, follow us. Saima, was very nice meeting you, and I'm definitely looking forward to meet you in person right there in London in just a few days.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. It's
And
great
catch,
meeting you too.
yep, absolutely. And catch all of the coverage on ITSP Magazine at itsvmagazine.com/infosec25. This conversation, along with the others, pre-event and on location. So please subscribe, and we'll see everybody in London very soon.